Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday, August the 17th. So, three topics for today: diplomacy, abuse of the pulpit, Jeremiah, and division. So, let's get into it. So, diplomacy. I don't think that the current leadership of the left understand what diplomacy is. They seem to have this idea that diplomacy is having a bunch of rich people in a room agreeing with each other about stuff. That wouldn't even be a good wine party. Like, people are like, oh, these cocktail parties. Everybody just wants to be invited to these cocktail parties. And I'm like, these cocktail parties sound terrible. I mean, I've been to cocktail type parties, both in my life and also had my parents know a lot of people. And they tend to be fun. And they're fun when people disagree about things and they kind of discuss ideas, what's the best way to do things, all that kind of stuff. These people in charge now would not be a good guest at a wine party. They at a cocktail party. They'd be too boring. So there's a lot of pushback against Trump right now because of the fact that he dared to negotiate with Putin. And I just think that is so stupid. Just absolutely stupid. Nobody is really benefiting from this war happening in Ukraine and Russia. Um, Ukraine, obviously, because they're losing territory, and Russia because they are spending a lot more money and lives on this than they expected. So it's in everybody's best interest for this war to end. Um, that's objectively true. So, how do you end a war? Well, you negotiate. Most wars end in negotiations. They have like the left has this idea that every war is going to end with like taking out Hitler in Berlin. No, that's not how most wars end. Period. And they are under the impression that just that Trump should like go up to Putin, invite him to a diplomacy meeting, and tell Putin to go f himself, and that that's good diplomacy because you're getting him. It's like, no, that's not good diplomacy. I don't care what meeting you're on in the entire planet. You don't have a meeting and then tell the other person to f off if you're trying to negotiate with them. Even in an divorce proceeding, that's not a good idea. Like, who the hell thinks that that's a good idea to basically tell the person that you suck? And then after the meeting, they're like, "Oh, Trump said it went well, but it actually didn't." I'm sorry. What universe are you in? Where having a meeting with somebody, and if you don't get what you want done, you say it went badly. No, you say it went great. That's what everybody does in every business situation ever. You say things went well. You don't insult the person you're negotiating with, and you say things went well. That is just a trope. What are you even complaining about? You don't like Orange Man. Orange Man bad. So therefore, you should act like a complete idiot in a negotiation. Is that really what diplomacy is? All these people who say that Trump doesn't know how to negotiate, or doesn't know how to speak, or doesn't know how to communicate right. If your notion of communicating right is doing what you're recommending right now, dear God, how did you become in charge of the West? How did that happen? How did people this stupid become in positions of power? And we all know why. Because they all give each other handshakes and they all act nice to each other and they favor each other instead of people that are actually competent. That's obviously what happened in the West is that a bunch of people giving each other handshakes all decided to just help each other out. It is just blatant. What's the word for when you give jobs to your friends and family? Nepotism. It is frank nepotism. Um, and I just don't know how they can be that stupid. Now, do you have to give Putin what he wants? No. If there's a deal that's actually made, you don't like it because it gives Putin too much or whatever, that's something you can criticize. You can criticize the outcome of the deal just fine. But to criticize somebody trying to make a deal is stupid. Even if there's no deal to be had. We're spending billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives on this Ukraine-Russia war. Ukrainian lives, Russian lives, American dollars, European dollars, Russian dollars. And you're not willing to have a conversation? Really? And you're claiming to be smart? No, you are an idiot. Um, Dear God, no. No. You're not even worth talking to, which is ironic that I'm saying that after that screed. I guess you are worth talking to. But you really make it tough. Okay, so two things. Church today, so Sunday. Sunday, fun day, church day. Anyway, so two things happened. Surprisingly not from the sources I'm usually from. So usually I don't like the deacon, and usually I like the priest. This time it's the opposite. So I'm gonna go with the priest first. He's asking that we donate money to Gaza. Fuck no. You expect me to give money to those bastards? No, I mean, granted, I think that there's a space to argue for peace. I think that the war has gone on. So, full disclosure, I think the war has gone on about a year or two long at this point. I think that Israel is doing a terrible job executing it, and is losing the PR war, obviously. And they are also basically stabbing Republicans, especially Trump, in the back. And we are Israel's only true allies in the entire planet that actually support Israel, with money and resources and all that kind of stuff. It's not the American left. It's not anymore. It's not Europe. It's not any of these other people. No, it's Republicans. So we are your only allies, and you're treating us like garbage. And we're losing patience, and we're losing people who actually support you. By the way, even in the Republican tribe, our support for you has plummeted. So maybe give us what we actually want, which is Trump to be able to negotiate a peace deal between Gaza and Israel. We're not asking for that much. Just get peace, okay? That said, the Palestinians widely support a mass terrorist attack murdering Israelis who are basically at a peace concert. So screw them too. So a pox on both houses, I would say. But that said, to ask for someone to donate to one of these sides is retarded, Father Andy. It is a stupid position to have. It is wrong. It is morally wrong. It's one thing to say give money to pray for peace, or give money to Nigerian Christians who are being persecuted, or even I can see the argument for giving money to Muslim Uyghurs in China who are being persecuted, or different groups. There are plenty of groups that we know are being persecuted throughout the entire world. In Syria, basically some of Africa, not as much as you think. Africa's actually doing pretty well right now, it seems like. Different places. I get it. Fine. But to go and try to get money for one of the most controversial, complicated divisions in the entire world ever is stupid. Especially because, I'm sorry, Gaza hasn't surrendered. They were fighting, and they're fighting both in military ways and using propaganda. They were fighting a war, and you're supporting the Gaza side that launched an attack like this. And they're a bunch of, honestly, they're a bunch of savages. Now, savages have rights too, just human life, all that kind of stuff. Got it. But their beliefs are savage, and I think we should be able to say that. Israel, for all of its faults, is a free democracy that has human rights and gay rights and every other type of right. Gaza is the exact opposite. And they haven't surrendered. If they had surrendered unconditionally and been like, we surrender, Israel, you win, then you can negotiate peace and get what you want. But if you're still fighting, you can't go and say, oh, well, feel bad for us. Feel so sorry for us. I mean, go screw yourself. No. If you're using other people's empathy as a weapon, I'm not going to feed that empathy. Ever. That is the absolute worst type of person. It's the worst. It's bad in international affairs. It's bad with individuals. We all know those people who are like, feel sorry for me, give me money, or sleep with me, whatever. We all know those people, right? Do not feed them. They do not deserve it. So I'm just absolutely disgusted with my priest for actually asking us to give money to them. No, absolutely not. It's a disgusting thing to ask to. No. I'll give money to other things. I'll give money to the church. I'll give money to charity. I'll give money to whatever other cause you want. I'm not giving money to these people. No, it doesn't even get to them. Like so much of the money's in like so many of the donations and stuff have gone to these fat fucks who live in England or whatever, and they don't even live there, and they are in charge of the Gaza people, and they don't even suffer. They're just getting rich off other people's charity. No, not getting a dime to those people. And I think it's abuse of the pulpit. So I was wondering why I'm so upset about this, because I'm obviously pretty tilted about this, to be honest. Why I'm upset about this? I think it's cheating. I think that we all have jobs, and I might not agree with your job, but we all have a role, right? So if you're a Democrat CNN correspondent, your job is to report things in a way that helps the Democratic Party. That's your job, and that's okay. And maybe you like your job, maybe you don't, but I get it. Or if you're a activist who's supporting guys in the streets, sure, that's your thing. I get it. You're fighting what you consider the right side of this war. If you're a president or whatever, you help your side. That's all reasonable. No matter what side you're on. I'm pretty actually tolerant of other people who have different opinions than me. But if you're a priest or a teacher or something that's supposed to be in a situation that's somewhat nonpartisan, you should not be doing this kind of advocacy. It is morally wrong. And anyway, it is just disgusting that he would do that. This is why, by the way, people go Protestant. This is exactly the type of shit I'm talking about. Especially because like these same people, these same extremists of this particular demographic, are attacking Christians in Nigeria and Syria and other places around the world. What about we help our own people? Like, I know we're not supposed to care about your own people. Well, why not? Why can't we have a tribal Christian unity where Christians of all walks of life, of all races, of all demographics, help each other out? Why can't we tell people to give money to the people suffering in Nigeria? Like, and I get giving money to other groups too, because that's what Jesus asked us to do. That's what we were asked to do. That's what it spreads the faith. I even get that. But to advocate for fucking Gaza, no. Anyway, that's my thought. So the Bible passage today, which is actually good. I had a really good time in church, except until the last 2 minutes. Anyway, Jeremiah and division. So there's 3 topics. So I'm a Catholic, so we have 3 different readings. The 3 readings, we usually have Old Testament, something from the letters, and then something from the Gospels. So in today's reading, I forget what the letters was, but Jeremiah, it's actually a kind of funny story. Basically, all the advisors to the king basically say, yeah, this Jeremiah guy, he's advocating for Jerusalem to basically surrender to the Persian armies. So all these people are like, Jeremiah is really being a downer. Can we get rid of him? And so the king is like, yeah, sure. So they put him down to a cistern, which I think is a well. I don't know what a cistern is. I think it's like a well / aquifer. And he goes basically just sinks into the mud. He's gonna die. Then another guy goes to the king and says, "Hey, we're out of food and we kind of need Jeremiah back." And so they go bring him back. And that's the story. There's no miracles, no anything like that. It's just like some people say, put the guy in the well, and then the guy comes, take the guy out of the well. There's division though, and that's actually a good thing because not everybody agrees. Some people want him to be in the well, some people don't. And through the division, Jeremiah is able to stay alive. And is one of the better prophets, in my opinion. Then in the New Testament, Jesus says something like, "I do not come to bring peace. I come to bring the sword. I put father against son, mother against daughter, father-in-law against daughter-in-law, son-in-law, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law. Basically, I'm going to divide everybody." Actually, I'm going to maybe read the passage here. This might be cool. Here we go. "Do not think I've come to bring peace to the earth. I've come not to bring peace, but a sword. If I have to come to set a man against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household. It's pretty blatant what Jesus is saying. This isn't like metaphor. And yet, every time you go to church, and I'm not even blaming the deacon for this. He actually had a really good homily about I forget what it was. But it was a good homily. I remember. Hey, this is nice. In my opinion, this is pretty freaking blatant. If you want to show my screen. Okay, you see it? So, I think it's a great passage. And I think we overemphasize the peace part of Christianity. I guess Jesus gives us peace in this world, or supposed to. I've never experienced that, but that's not what he says. This is exactly the opposite of that, and I think that's actually a good thing. We're supposed to have constructive conflict. Like when you play soccer, you have two teams that are fighting against each other. It's a simulated fight, but it is a fight. But they have to agree on rules, and they have to follow the rules, and they have to be relatively good to each other. And at the end of the game, they shake hands. And out of this comes a beautiful game. Like soccer is the beautiful game. So you have division that creates something new. Or our political parties. So you have Republicans giving their fighting marks, and Democrats giving their fighting marks. And out of it, you can figure out what the best ideas are for a given time. That's a good thing. It's good to have some division. When you don't have division, you end up where England is right now, where they have little rape gangs going around the country molesting people. So that's what happens when you don't have enough division, and when you don't have two sides that are actually fighting against each other. And no, England does not have two sides; it has one establishment. And you see this throughout Europe. The reason why America is doing as well as it is because we have the two sides fighting against each other. It's a feature, not a bug. And something about a politics, he had a really, really good idea. He's crazy, but he has good ideas sometimes. He had an idea that he's a Trinitarian. What does that mean? Well, Trinitarian, in his description of it, so in the Christian description of it, you got the Father, who creates the Son, and the Holy Spirit is what comes out of the two of those like working together. It's like some kind of third force. And that's what the Trinity is. It's it's a triangle. But it can also be seen as two forces coming together and producing something new. That's what the my conception of the Holy Trinity goes. Hard to get into that too much. But it's throughout everything else. So, like in bifocal cultures, you have two cultures that go together. You create a sort of harmony, the Tao. Everything is even. You got darkness and light, the light and darkness, so on and so forth. And that's good. But you need conflict that produces something new. Actually, I guess that is conflict. Actually, that is conflict too. The Tao, having two sides in forever. And that's good, I guess. They have two sides. But even better than having two sides in harmony is the production of a third side. So you see this with children, where you have father, mother creates children. Father fights, mother creates child, creates the next generation, moves humanity forward. And you see this in all kinds of areas. Crick and Watson, another idea for science. A lot of times in science, you have two ideas that are coming against each other and they fight, and that makes the idea stronger. That's why we haven't had good scientific progress for the past 50 years, is because there's no fighting. They're all like, oh, we all believe it's a science. But that's not what science advances science. What advances science is the argument, the fight. The fight produces life. It does. And this whole harmony worship is just bad. It's evil. It holds us back. That's why tech was so productive over the past 30 years, is because people were fighting. All the different startups that were fighting, and it worked. So I totally get what Jesus is. I mean, that's why I don't get why we try to negate what Jesus is saying here. He's saying, "I have not come to bring peace, but to bring a sword." He is bringing conflict. That's what Jesus did. That's like so many conflicts throughout history come from, and the productive conflicts in history have come from Christianity. He's speaking facts right here, and I think we should. I'm okay with interpreting things in the Old Testament with regards to science, history, everything else. But when it comes to the words of Jesus himself, I think you should be very careful to negate it or try to interpret it away. He's spitting fire. He's spitting fire, and you should listen instead of just like trying to add your own interpretation to things. We're not looking for unity. That's not a Christian message. We're looking for the conflict that produces the next thing. So yeah, I got a bit fiery today, but it's a Sunday. I can kind of give my opinion on some things that have been going on. The volatile vibes needs to be followed though. If this gets you too much, I'd recommend going on a walk. Anyway, that's all I got. And I also didn't keep to the 5-minute cycle today. I really try to keep to that 5 minutes per topic, 3 topics, but I got a bit into it today. Anyway, that's all for now. Cheers.